Greetings from the Alexandrina Council. Let's meet the driving force behind the Alexandrina community. Chief Executive Officer, Andrew MacDonald. Mayor, Keith Parks. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Peter Oliver. West Ward, Councillor Bill Coomans. Councillor Lou Nicholson. Councillor Michael Scott. North Ward, Councillor Craig Maidment. Councillor Sue Miller. Councillor Christy Thornton. South Ward, Councillor Margaret Gardner. Councillor Millie Livingston. And finally, Councillor Peter Oliver.
So welcome. Before we get into the official part of the meeting, I just welcome you all to our special ordinary council meeting here in Strathalbyn and in our newly upgraded and beautiful Strathalbyn Town Hall. The project's been a long time coming and it's been quite a transformation. The renovation of the heritage listed Strathalbyn Town Hall is the final part of our 8-stage Strathalbyn Town Centre revitalisation project. A big thank you to our funding partner, the South Australian Government. We did invite the Treasurer and the Ministers for Local Government and Planning to come along tonight. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here. It is a sitting week of Parliament, so it's probably still sitting right now. The Strathalbyn Town Hall was originally built in 1874 as a mechanics institute and originally served as an educational and community hub. An extension was added in 1906. The Corporation of Strathalbyn took over the Mechanics Institute building in 1937, repurposing it as the Strathalbyn Town Hall. A significant remodelling took place in 1939, coinciding with South Australia's centenary year. But the work's all done now, and working with a Heritage Advisor, we can have a more modern, accessible and compliant venue that can be used for a variety of community uses, including concerts, weddings, exercise classes and meetings. Our community activation team is now taking bookings, so if you're interested in hiring out this wonderful space, I encourage you to give them a call through our council phone number, which is 8555 7000. Just a bit of housekeeping. The toilets are located through that door there on the middle of that wall. Should there be an emergency, we all need to head out of here through the exit doors and assemble in the car park over by where the Kenny Blake motorcycle statue is. That's those two things. What else? That's all. So regarding conflicts of interest, if members are leaving the meeting for a conflict of interest, you're asked to wait in the supper room there and close the door, and then we'll be all fine. So thank you again for attending our meeting. We'll now get back to the actual official meeting agenda. So an audio recording of this meeting will be made for minute-taking purposes and will last the length of the open meeting. The audio file will be available on the council website after the draft minutes have been circulated. And welcome our elected members. Also welcome our Chief Executive Officer, Andrew MacDonald, General Manager of Infrastructure, Alan Harvey, General Manager Corporate, Tash Hunt, and other staff who are here as required. I ask you, would you please stand for the local government prayer and the acknowledgement of ownership. The Alexandrina Council and its communities acknowledge the Narrandjeri, Paramount and Gardner people as the traditional custodians of the lands and waters of our council district. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to grant thy blessing upon the works of this council. Guide us in our deliberations for the advancement and the true welfare of the people of this district. Thank you. If a council member has a conflict of interest for the purpose of Part 4, Division 1, Subdivision 4 of the Local Government Act of 1999 in a matter which is before council at this meeting, you're asked to disclose the interest of the council and provide full and accurate details of the relevant interest at the beginning of the meeting, and members are reminded they must also deal with the conflict of interest in accordance with the relevant provisions of Subdivision 4 at the time the item arises for consideration. We have conflict of interest advice from Councillor Maidment, and they're the only ones I have. So we move on to item 2 Sorry. Right. Councillor Maiden? Councillor Livingston, I've got nothing from you. If you're going to tell me now. Great.
Yes, my conflict of interest is at item 12.1, confidential item, unsolicited proposal, Strathalbyn RV Park. As chairman of the Oval Controlling Committee, which operates the Strathalbyn Caravan Park, I would have a material conflict of interest. Therefore, I will leave the chamber and at the time that is being discussed.
I'm declaring a material conflict of interest in relation to item 12.2, Burke's Harbour Marina market rent assessment due to a related party, and I'll leave the chamber.
Right, so we move to item 2, which is confirmation of the minutes. 2.1 is confirmation of the ordinary council meeting minutes of the 18th of August 2025. Is there a move that they be received? Councillor Maiden. Seconder, Councillor Coomans. Yeah, Councillor Coomans. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Can you hear me okay now? It sounds really loud here, I can tell you. 2.2 is the Southern Communities Transport Scheme minutes of the 18th of June 25. Recommendation that the minutes of the meeting held on that date be received and noted. Mover? Somebody? Councillor Oliver. A seconder? Councillor Maidman. Any discussion relating to those minutes? Not. Put it to all those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. It's a bit hard to see you all properly with this thing in front of me, so I can only see a few heads. 2.3 is the Southern Communities Transport Scheme minutes of the 20th of August 25, and the minute in its recommendation that those minutes be received and noted. Move Councillor Scott. And the seconder, Councillor Oliver. Probably stick your hand out. Stick your hand out that way. Any discussion relating to those minutes? I'll put the recommendation to. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 2.4 is the Climate Emergency and Environment Committee minutes of the 15th of August 2025. It's recommendation that the minutes those from that meeting be received and noted. Move Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Nicholson. Any discussion relating to those minutes? No, so I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? Anybody against? No. Against? That's carried unanimously. Item 3 is adjourned debate. There is none. Item 4 is presentations and deputations. 4.1 is a deputation from the Strathalbyn Uniting Church regarding a grant to repair the clock tower and clock. And we have Miss Jorlene Winter and Peter Roberts and David Button would like to speak to us about that. So welcome.
Yep. Ooh. Good evening, Mayor Keith Parks and council members. We thank you for this opportunity to make this deputation. St Andrew's Church was not intended to have a clock tower. Edward Sterling purchased a bell for the church when it arrived from Scotland. It weighed £2,000. It was too large for the spire. Hence the clock tower was built in 1869. Provision was made for a clock to be installed at a later date. In 1894, Mrs. Tucker successfully started a subscription to purchase a clock, and in 1895 the clock was installed. The dials were gas-lit because not everyone could afford a clock or even fewer a watch. This clock with the bell chiming every 15 minutes enabled everyone, regardless of financial circumstances, to know the time. So today, with phones and watches constantly reminding us of the time, is there any point in preserving our clock tower? The Alexandrina Council Strathalbyn Plan 2014 to 24 has a lot to say about our built heritage. The vision acknowledges that our culture and our heritage shape our identity. The third goal is to cherish our cultural heritage and celebrate the contribution it makes to our identity. To quote the Strathalbyn Township Heritage Survey of 2003, St Andrew's Church Strathalbyn has strong cultural and spiritual associations for the community of Strathalbyn, as it is representative of the founding of settlers of the district. With St Andrews being located within the State Heritage Precinct, this association continues today, such as the tower being the backdrop to the Anzac Day services. During World War II, the 2nd 8th Battalion was billeted at Strathalbyn. These soldiers took the opportunity to sign the walls inside the tower. Dates indicate World War I and possibly earlier soldiers also signed the walls. This history we must preserve. The town plan identifies that the key buildings act as landmarks in identifying and natural wayfinding. The opportunity is to recognise these and maintain views to and from them. This tower is a prominent landmark well used for identity and promotion purposes. Intention to take responsibility of maintenance of the town clock was made by the District Council of Strathalbyn in 1997. This architectural drawing of the clock tower was done in 2009 by the Alexandrina Council, and it's not the spire. Birds, particularly the little corellas, have wrought significant damage to the masonry. In 2024, we undertook removal of loose masonry. Having the clock striking every 15 minutes would be a good bird deterrent. In 2023, we engaged clockmasters to assess the clock. They reported the mechanism to be in surprisingly good condition. Their quotation to repair all the faces, install new protection over them and automate the mechanism was $90,000. In March this year, SA Window Cleaning removed the built-up bird waste and thoroughly cleaned inside the tower. The bird prevention boards and mesh were re-secured at a cost of $20,000. The tower is now ready for the ladders to be brought up to current safety standards, the external masonry repaired and sealed, and this restoration of the clock to begin. The town plan refers to the productive reuse of heritage buildings. St Andrews has been and continues to be a venue for a range of cultural events and celebrations, and this coming Sunday, the Lobethal Harmony Club will be performing there. One of the actions in the town plan refers to developing partnerships in maintaining, restoring and reusing our heritage landmarks. And note, the Visitor Information Centre has this fridge magnet, the only one of Strathalbyn, and it sells very well. We are asking you to partner with us in sourcing and applying for suitable infrastructure grants that will fund the restoration of this clock tower and to give your support for applications. We must restore and maintain this iconic landmark, which is integral to the entire State Heritage Precinct and is a valuable town amenity. Thank you, and have you questions?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Scott.
I just wondered if you had a, to use a common present-day term of a GoFundMe thing on the go.
We do.
For the community to do it at large rather than necessarily council doing it, but that might be...
David will quickly tell you about the one he started.
We have a page on Raisley, which is promoted in the Argus, bottom left corner of page 2 every week for the rest of the year, but it relies on people to repost that on Facebook and social media.
Any further questions? No. So thank you very much for your presentation. David and Jorleen and Peter, thank you. So 4.2 is a present deputation regarding the Strathalbyn swimming pool extension of the season and also the quality of the surrounds. We have Ms Helen Dawson here to make a deputation regarding that, so welcome, Helen.
Good evening, Mayor Keith Parks and councillors. I'm really pleased to be here, especially to request some additional time for lap swimmers in the Strathalbyn pool.
So members happy to the extension of time? Show of hands, thanks. So, okay, that's fine, thank you.
Okay. Last year, the council heard a submission for the season to be extended by 4 weeks, and they agreed to this, which was terrific. I enthusiastically embraced this opportunity to swim on average 4 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes for the entire season. I'm so appreciative of the council agreeing to the extra time and the efforts of the YMCA staff who do their jobs so well. The pool and surroundings are kept clean and the water is healthy and plenty warm enough for the chilliest mornings. The number of swimmers appeared to me to increase substantially over the long, warm summers, and individual swimmers came considerable distances. The 50-metre pool is ideal for lap swimming, and lap swimming is a very beneficial exercise for many reasons. People who want to achieve competition standards, others who want to achieve heart health fitness, and there are some others like me who want to do non-weight-bearing exercise. Many groups came to the pool and casual swimmers were excluded at these times, which was fine. Strathalbyn Swimming Club became the Great Southern Swimming Club when the Fleurieu Aquatic Centre opened 8 years ago. Members do still train here. The fast lane is always reserved for fast swimmers. Long course carnivals are held here because this pool remains the only 50-metre pool in the area. Local schools use the pool for competitions and lessons, and aqua aerobics classes occur most Fridays and up to 20 people attend. The population of Strathalbyn is growing. When I was doing research for this presentation, I considered the need for the pool to open an extra half hour in the mornings, that is until 9 o'clock instead of 8:30. I found that more than half the working people who live in Strathalbyn work elsewhere. These people can swim between 6 and 7, and retirees like me can come later. I could arrive after 8, and parents taking children to school could have time as well. The other consideration is the way the lanes are organised, so everyone can have a fair go. The lanes are assigned fast, medium and slow. As the season progressed, the middle lane became crowded and we were left waiting our turn at the end of the pool. I also think the efficient Strathalbyn News network would transmit the fact that the pool is open later and is more accessible. My other request is that the showers be run for longer. Especially on chilly mornings, the warm shower is great. However, the meagre stream of water is timed to turn off after a very short time. I cannot even wash the pool solids out of my short hair. Some swimmers do stay inside the cubicle wrapped in a towel until the shower agrees to turn on again. This leaves anyone waiting getting colder for longer. And this may be a hangover from the time South Australia was very short of Murray water. It would be great to have a longer shower time. None of my discussion is meant to downplay the superb town we live in. The pool is part of an accessible hub, including oval, bowling green, gym, library, gardens and playgrounds, all beautifully maintained and close by. There are so many groups catering for volunteers to engage and work for the good of the council, for the good of the community. The council serves us very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Are there any questions? Helen? No? So thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. .3 is the deputation regarding the Belvidere Soldiers Memorial Hall, regarding the value of community halls. And we have Tina Dewhurst here to talk to us about that. So welcome, Tina.
We're just wondering if we can just do maybe a little extension of, say, 30 seconds of our speech, if that's okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Oh, sorry. Okay. We were just maybe wondering if we could just do an extension of, say, 30 seconds on our speech, if that's okay.
Members happy with that? Yes. Okay,
Sorry.
thanks.
Good evening, Mayor Parks and council members. My name is Tina Dewhurst and I've got Sue Ecker over here. We're on behalf of the Belvidere Soldiers Memorial Hall and we're joined by Jess Munsberg from the Woodchester Hall, who is here in support of the same concerns. Sorry. Before we begin, we all want to sincerely thank the Council for increasing our annual financial support. This extra funding goes directly towards our rising insurance costs and has made a real difference for our hall. For that, we are truly grateful. Our purpose here tonight in reaching out is to seek the Council's support, guidance and collaboration in addressing some of the difficulties we are currently facing. We feel it's important to keep the Council informed of the pressures we are under, so together we can keep halls like ours serving our community for years to come. Belvidere Hall has been at the heart of our community for more than a century. The hall was built as a memorial to those who gave their lives and has hosted countless gatherings in its time and was home to the local Ag Bureau for many years. It was also once known as one of the district's best dance halls going around, and people travelled from miles around to fill it with music and laughter. In a small community like ours, the hall was never just a building. It was where neighbours connected, friendships grew and traditions were passed on. For young and old alike, it was a place of belonging and a place that brought Belvidere together. And yet, despite its importance and long history, the hall faces some very real threats to its future. Our most urgent challenge is recruiting committee members and volunteers to manage it. Running a hall of this size and age is no small task. Oh God, I didn't think I'd do this. In recent years, finding people willing to step into these roles has become increasingly difficult. The few who do continue to give their time are stretched thin. Without fresh volunteers, the hall simply cannot function into the future. This challenge is also compounded by the fact that we must operate under a constitution. For many community members, constitutions are difficult to understand and the processes they require can feel restrictive. While a constitution provides important structure, this can put people off getting involved because the rules feel too hard to follow or make sense of. A hall of this age needs constant upkeep and insurance costs keep rising. Fundraising has always helped, but support from donations is harder to secure, and the time it takes to organise events is a big task. Occasional hires bring in some funds, but with fewer volunteers, the load grows heavier every year. In many cases, our volunteers step in to do the repair work themselves, often giving their time, skills and even their own money to make sure the hall remains open and safe. While this demonstrates a deep commitment to our committee, sometimes it's not a sustainable solution. When specialist trades are required, it is also becoming increasingly difficult to secure their services, as many are reluctant to deal with committees, not to mention the costs that we cannot afford. This can delay maintenance and place even more pressure back on volunteers. If we are unable to attract new members, the future of the hall becomes increasingly uncertain. Without a strong base of people to carry it forward, the hall risks falling into decline and ultimately faces the very real prospect of closure. For Belvidere, that would not simply be the loss of a building, but the loss of a potential community hub and the disappearance of over a century of local heritage, memories and identity. This is why we are turning to Council, not for direct financial service, but for ideas, guidance and support in knowing who to approach when we need help. At times, we simply don't know the best person to ask, and that can make challenges feel bigger than they are. We believe there is a real opportunity to work together to secure the future of not just our hall, but community halls more broadly. I do want to acknowledge that I've reached out to Council for support recently and have received some great support from Lee Ritchie and Bev Bogue, and of course, Councillor Sue Miller, who have shown us what's possible when Council and community work together, but obviously they can only do so much in their field. We ask the Council to consider 4 key ways to support the community halls like ours. First, to help us attract new members and volunteers by supporting campaigns or programs that inspire people, especially younger generations, to get involved. Second, provide support with some governance so constitution and legal requirements don't discourage people from joining committees. Third, maybe offer some tailored grants and fundings, like small specifically targeted grants for maintenance and repairs for our halls, which would ease the load on volunteers and keep the hall sustainable. And finally, maybe allow us some access to council staff or contractors so essential work can be done more quickly on repairs and safely too, with a less strain on the small committee. So in summary, Belvidere Soldiers Memorial Hall is not only a place where memories are made, it is the centre of our community. With council support and leadership, we believe we can find new ways to engage people, inspire pride and secure the future of this community space for maybe the next 100 years. Thank you for your time and consideration. Jess.
Thank you, Tina. Are there any questions? Councillor Coomans.
Thank you for your presentation. I guess you're one of 10 halls that are owned by the community, and each of them is suffering. Probably one of your biggest issues is insurance. Yeah, and it's quite common for all other halls to have the same thing. You're talking about having ideas and guidance to promote the use, which I think is a great idea, and also assistance with work that needs to be done, like with contractors and things. So I think they're all brilliant ideas. Have you got any feel in terms of where you want to go in terms of use of the hall?
We want the Belvedere Hall to get out of the party mode and to be used more as a community hub type thing, maybe groups use it on a weekly or fortnightly basis and not just having inquiries going, oh, we want our birthday party there. And it's usually a Saturday night shindig that has damaged the hall in, the last recent hires, which is probably the biggest disheartening thing of all.
And I guess one other thing that council did consider the plight of the community halls, and we used to provide about $1,000 a year. We've been able to double that. Because we recognise the value of community halls. Yeah, and
I put that at the beginning. I didn't sort of mention the amount. I just said, thank you. Yeah.
Tina, did you have somebody else that wanted to speak? I noticed that. Yeah, you've only got one speaker written down, but
Jess
if you want
to, going to do a little bit if she wanted.
Thank you very much. Just in closing, I'd like to say this. Halls like Woodchester Hall are more than just a community building. They are symbols of belonging, memory and identity. If they're allowed to fade away, we lose more than walls and also a roof. We lose community connection, culture and community spirit. And together, I think we all have a chance to protect that for the people of specifically Woodchester, but also our wider community halls. So thank you for your time, consideration and recognition of this important issue. Thanks.
Councillor Scott.
Just very quickly, you mentioned earlier one of the things was the Constitution.
Yes.
These things can be frightening for people, unfortunately, because they are the backbone of your organisation. However, they are a living document and can be modified to suit. So have you reviewed your Constitution recently? And if not, it may be an idea to make it more attractive and for people to understand, because some of the old ones can be a bit long and long-winded. And
it's just getting people to understand it more than anything, and so we can make those changes. It's just really hard to go there when you've just got a few in the committee and you want to sort of go, well, we need this amount of people here, or, we want to make this change. They just don't understand. They just why do we have to have it? Why do we have to follow that? Why can't we just do it our way? That's where we sort of want, I don't know, just help with maybe getting people to understand it more, because I've been doing some research and I've been reading it back to front and upside down, and I need help too.
No, you ran a very good quiz night there, I think it was a year or so ago, that the hall was full.
Yeah, we've held 2 quiz nights in the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, so they've been quite successful. So, and the money that we raise goes towards any maintenance that we have or that we need to do, which is quite a bit.
Any further questions? Understand exactly where you're coming from, Tina. We've got, as you know, we've got lots of halls. I live at Currency Creek. We've got the hall there. Yep. That's the council owns the building. And then we've got Tooparang Hall and Finnis, and they're all around the place. But being a memorial hall, I'm thinking there are maybe opportunities through DVA, Veteran Affairs, to get some money. The other group, which are very, very supportive of communities and do a lot of good, are the Corinthian Lodge. So they've got the Masonic Charities, which are the Freemasons. They sold all of their real estate assets except for one building in the city, and they've invested millions of dollars, and the interest from that money they give to community groups, and they've done some fantastic job. They gave over $500,000 to Mount Malang for a boat, for a rescue boat. So keep that in mind, because they are always looking for places in the community to help.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Thanks very much for your deputation.
No, thank you.
So 4.4 is a deputation regarding the reduction of the speed limit for Cross Drive and Rodwell Road, Woodchester. We have Chelsea Strathalbyn and Ms Heather Welsh and Jess Munsberg to make a deputation in support of a petition they presented.
Good evening, Mayor Parks and attending councillors. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. As we're doing a joint deputation, I would request that if time is required, that we can have a slight extension.
So we're happy to more time?
Thank
you. Thank you. Yep, that's fine.
My name is Shalisa and I've been a resident of Cross Drive in Woodchester for the past 17 years. Over the years, Cross Drive and Rodwell Road has grown considerably with more housing and growth in population. This has led me to a petition which I believe will be presented to you tonight for consideration. These roads are regularly used by cut-through traffic, with many driving too fast and in an unsafe manner. This poses a risk to the residents. Children regularly get on and off of the school bus along these roads at their front gate, and their safety is being compromised. I myself have a daughter with autism, and her awareness and reaction time is reduced. Residents use these roads for exercising, walking their dogs, and riding their horses. I've personally experienced incidents where my daughter and I have been riding our horses, where I waved down the oncoming traffic that is coming way too fast, and they have sped up, ignored my request, and almost hit us. In the past 2 weeks, on the 3rd of September, for example, cars have parked at the top of Cross Drive and they're dragging each other up and down the road, doing burnouts. And at this time, at 7 o'clock at night, they narrowly missed losing control and hitting my stone wall and fence. Their vehicles are doing excessive speeds and dangerous driving. For these reasons, before someone is seriously injured, I request that considerations are given to classify these two roads, Cross Drive and Rodwell Road, as urban area roads, and consider that the speed limit be reduced from the current 100 kilometres per hour to a speed of 50 kilometres per hour. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I've lived at Woodchester for 21 years, and in that time there's been around 40% more housing and construction on Cross and Rodwell Road. Most of them have at least 1 to 2 vehicles using these roads daily, and in recent time a larger volume using Cross Drive in particular as a cut through from both the major roads. This has led to an ongoing issue with dust and road noise. The dust issue has been raised on occasion with council, where it was noted that the speed limit could not be lowered unless the road was bitumised. We are not really wanting this because we prefer to have the country feel However, it seems very timely that since DIT has reduced the major road speeds to 60 kilometres an hour, that Cross and Rodwell roads are also reduced, preferably to 50 kilometres. It seems incomprehensible that they should remain at an open speed limit. After a very dry 18 months, hopefully a reduction of speed along these roads will mean less dust entering our houses. Many are close to the roads and not entering our rainwater storage, which is our only source of drinking water. And the dust does get into our roofs and our water. Less speed equals less dust and less road noise. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jess and I'm a resident of Rodwell Road in Woodchester. Reducing the speed limit on Rodwell Road would not only match the reality of how the road is currently being used, but will also create a safer environment for children's parents and all other residents. It would give drivers more time to react and to reduce the consequence if a mistake does happen. As a community, we would want to encourage the safe and walkable roads and ensure that parents feel confident that their children can use school buses without unnecessary risk. Lowering the speed limit is a simple, effective step that we can now take to protect our most vulnerable road users. Thank you very much for your time in considering this important issue.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Scott.
I'm just wondering if I may ask through the Mayor to our Manager of Infrastructure, if we put a couple of speed humps on that road, would that help to reduce the speed of the cars? Obviously, there's some people there that are pushing the boundaries a bit. Would that help or not?
Do you want to speak?
Can I answer that? Actually, there are floodplains and flood mitigation works along Cross Drive and Rodwell Road, so it's not as simple as putting speed humps along, because those roads have flooded through there back twice in the 90s. It was very high floods, and that work was done by council many years ago to actually create dips, and it makes it a bit harder to put speed humps. We'd love to see speed humps, but don't think it's going to work.
And being that it is quite a long road, particularly Cross Drive, I'm not sure how many you would need to consider to make an impact on that. And then there's the maintenance and repair, everything like that.
Any further questions or discussion? No. Thank you very much for your deputation, and we've got your petition to handle in a minute. Thank you. So item 5 is petitions. 5.1 is a petition requesting a reduction of the speed limit for Cross Drive and Rodwell Road, Woodchester. There's a recommendation that we receive the petition and it be forwarded to the Infrastructure Division for assessment and a response to the head petitioner. Councillor Scott, you're moving it?
Yes, happy to move that. It obviously needs attention, and the sooner we can get onto it, the better it will be.
And Councillor Miller, you're seconding it?
And just briefly, Your Worship, there was a suggestion of some changing to the wording, but I understand that we were going to have an update or the opportunity to ask questions about the merits of strengthening the recommendation or not, and I understand leaving it the way that it is better to give it a better chance of success. I just wondered if we could have an update on that, please. And then
we can't understand a word of what you're saying, just so that you know. I don't know how the audience are going, but I can't understand it. But Lachlan got a bit of it, I think.
Yep. Through the Mayor, a update. So the setting of speed limits is set by Department of Infrastructure and Transport. So to be clear, that council is not an authority that sets speed limits. We have to request that of the department, and then the department undertake their own assessment on whether or not that speed limit should be there, whether that's 100, whether it's 70, whether it's 60, 50, or whatever that speed limit might be. When we were approached by the residents in that locality, we put that forward to the department, and their response was that they would allow it to occur on Rodwell, but they wouldn't allow it to occur on Cross. So Rodwell being what in their view was an urban environment, and Cross being a more rural environment. So this is what we got back from the department. That information was fed back to and provided back to the residents, hence where we are now, in that the petition has been put forward and deputations have been made. What we said to them at the time was that that would help in us going back to the department to ask again for them to reconsider their position. We've had new traffic counts undertaken in that locality, and it does show that the speeds of the vehicles are quite low. And when I say that, that's in comparison to it being 100. They're travelling around 57 kilometres an hour on average, which means that, to our mind, in our reading of that situation, it's not a stretch to have the 50, particularly on Cross, and vehicles to drop to that level. What the department will be looking at, and what you look at from a traffic management perspective, is that if the average vehicle speed is too high, you won't get people obeying the speed limit. But in this instance, we believe that can be achieved, and that's what we'll go back to the department and ask them to reconsider their position. And we would ask that not just of the team that did the original assessment, but we would ask that of other management and leadership within the department to try and make that happen. So we would like to have that opportunity to do that, take the petition, take the new data that we've got available, go back to the department, have that conversation with them, and then try and get the result that both we and the residents are looking for.
Any further questions or discussion? Councillor Miller.
Your Worship, I'm not sure how I need to speak into this microphone to be heard, so perhaps a little lesson for all of us. If you could hear Councillor Scott, but you couldn't hear me, I just think we need a lesson in. I noticed.
I think you just if you're too close to it, it booms. So it needs to be up, but not too close. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Item 6 is questions with notice. 6.1 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding the Strathalbyn Town Plan and Langhorne Creek Rural Accommodation Reviews timelines. 6.2 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding reflecting the rural primary production sector in A2040 and roadside vegetation management resourcing. Feedback. 6.3 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding completed service reviews in relationship to service review framework and delivering the A2020 strategic alignment. 6.4 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding the Strathalbyn Recreation Precinct Lot 10, design and approval timeframe. 6.5 is a question from Councillor Maidment regarding the Ashbourne stormwater flooding mitigation project status. 6.6 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding the Strathalbyn Waste and Recycling Depot opening hours and future plans. 6.7 is a question from Councillor Maidment regarding the South Terrace Railway crossing in Strathalbyn. All those questions and the answers to the questions are contained within the agenda. Item 7 is questions without notice. Are there any questions without notice? Councillor Coomans.
Thanks, Mayor Parkes. Look, I've got two questions, if I could. The first is in relation to an email that was sent to all elected members from the Strathalbyn and District Concert Band. It's in relation to this hall. They actually have their practice here. And I think we've all already heard the issues that they have in terms of echoes and things like that. They're asking, is there any funds available to actually fix that issue of placing acoustic attenuators around the hall walls to minimise the echo effects. We had a very similar issue in Mount Compass some years ago, and we had an expert come around and just basically say, this is where you put them. We put them up, and the acoustics in that place is terrific. But are there any funds, or is there an intention to fix the issue of the echoes in this room?
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question, Councillor. The answer to the question is yes, we can. There are no more funds though. So in regards to this building, as the report further in the agenda talks to, we have completed our work here. Now there were acoustic panels included in the later design for the town hall. When we came to put them in, they went in last because everything else needed to be done beforehand. We found structural issues with the roof, where some of the roof irons were replaced, and particularly some of the timbers were replaced. It is not of a strength able to hold the panels that had been designed to be installed, so they weren't installed. As the project was at the back end of delivery and we had just worked our way through the liquidation of the primary contractor at the time, so we had a secondary contractor come in, we were very tight on available funding to get the hall into a functional and fit for purpose facility. However, that all said, I don't think there's any dispute that given tonight, for this setting, there is a need to do something better. Also remembering though that this hall is going to and is used by multiple different people, not just the band, and it will be hired out to all sorts of different types of functions, and they would all need to be considered and catered for in that environment. So what we'll do is take on bringing someone in to look at the place, see what they can give us in terms of feedback from a general use perspective, and see what we can move on from there.
Look, thanks for that response. I think it's something that needs to be fixed fairly quickly. My second question is, the West Ward councillors are being asked about a rally that's to be held on the 5th of October in the north of the ward, specifically passing through Milligan Road, Tea Tree Road and Cut Roads around Prospect Hill. That's around Kaipo area. Could staff please update on what steps will be taken to protect the environment in that area, and specifically the wildlife hotspots along the route, bearing in mind that much of the land has heritage listed bushland with many rare plants. Residents are also concerned at the amount of dust being generated by the rally cars, and I understand the CFS also may have some issues in terms of access during the race. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Coomans. This is the third year in a row this event has run through our district. The event organisers is Ultimate Motorsports Events. They made application to council for this event and road closures back in early June. And as part of the process, they are required to consult on council's behalf. They sent out 556 letters in July to surrounding community areas, and of all of those letters, they received 2 responses against the event. So with that in mind, and liaising with council, a second letter went out in September to residents advising essentially the event is planned to go ahead and what the road closures are. In terms of the environment, there are several pre-competition vehicles that actually check the road and go ahead of any vehicles before the first car is released, and cars are released every 2 minutes for this particular event. So there is checking of the roadways prior to cars being released. In terms of dust, obviously being an unsealed road with vehicles travelling along that, there will certainly be dust, that probably not that dissimilar to normal vehicles using that particular road. acknowledging that rally vehicles likely stir up a little bit more dust. I think there's no question there. But again, 556 letters went out. We had 2 responses who were against the event. A second letter's gone out to confirm the event. And under my delegation, I generally sign off on road closures. That hasn't been done as yet because we're waiting for this consultation process to conclude, which it now has.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I have 3 questions. One of those actually is further to Councillor Cooman's question. I've also been contacted about this rally. The questions that were put to me were about communication and the requirements. So it's interesting, the 556 letters, only 2 responded. My understanding was there was some feedback that some of those responses didn't get through and that there were more than 2. And I just wonder if there's an opportunity going forward to look at how these communications occur and how they are responded to. Is that something that we could look at? And I understand there is a pro forma of how they have to respond for road closures to be, and so that's been the gist of the questions that have been put to me around this Adelaide rally, similar to last year, but not. I haven't heard from the West Ward before, and I have had contact now from 3 people about this.
Thank you for your question. We can certainly look at that, but the letters that go out to our residents are actually reviewed by council before they go out, even though the event organiser is responsible. We still have that check-in point, but take on board your comments, and I'll certainly speak to my team about that.
My next question is, when an established street tree is removed, and we've had an example recently of a tree in 17 Archer Court here in Strathalbyn, what consultation occurs with residents along that street or that will have their amenity impacted by, and I think it was a 20-year-old tree, and it's been quite topical, trees recently.
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor. I'll talk to the position that we have on tree removal, but the actual instance that you're referring to, I'm going to have to take that on notice and come back to you. So in terms of consultation on tree removal, we don't consult. On the basis that, generally speaking, when we look at tree removal, we're looking in terms of risk, and that can be around the structure of a tree, it can be the health of the tree, it might be the species of the tree, in terms of pest species, etc. But I would not expect that to be the case if it's in a township. On that basis, we would tend to act quite quickly in order that that risk does not extend any further and does not cause, that risk does then not impact anyone in the community. So I have to take the actual situation that you've given me on board and come back to you with that, but I would just say, yeah, just because of what it's about, because it's probably to do with risk, very likely to be a risk, we would take an action almost immediately to get that done.
Are there any further questions? No, so we move on to item 8, which is notice of motion. 8.1 is a motion from Councillor Miller regarding holding of council meetings in locations other than Goolwa. It's moved. Councillor Miller, do you wish to speak to it?
I'll only speak very briefly, Worship, because all of my reasons are in the printed agenda. I just want to thank the community who's come tonight, and I think that it just demonstrates that there is interest in council affairs and how decisions get made, and it will be, I'm sure it will continue to be supported. This motion did start out as having one somewhere, not in Goolwa, but I've tightened it to be here in Strathalbyn, and all I'm asking for is that we consider it when we're just doing budget deliberations. I'm not asking for us to make a decision tonight, but I do think we need to continue to consider one meeting a year in Strathalbyn. I understand that The deputations requested for tonight were oversubscribed, but there was one from Langhorne Creek about native vegetation on roadsides. There was one from a gentleman at Mount Compass on the same topic, and there was also one about dog parks. So I think when we give the community an opportunity to participate, and you know, the petition tonight, the deputations that we heard, I think it's an opportunity for us to hear directly from the heart of our community, and so I hope that this will be supported to continue to consider allowing budget in our annual community plan to hold these meetings away from Goolwa. And I put it to my colleagues. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder for that? Seconder, Councillor Thornton, you should speak to it. Is there any discussion? Councillor Coomans.
I've never been in favour of having meetings other than in our registered office area in Goolwa. I don't really see the need. And I guess tonight, when I look at the questions on notice and what have you, 26 questions, 7 agenda items, 26 questions. It's taken staff 16 plus hours to answer them. They're all about essentially Strathalbyn. Most of them could have been answered with a simple phone call. Could have asked the Climate Emergency and Environment Committee Council member on some. Some have already been answered and some are not our responsibility. So the only reason I would have is to have it in other than Goolwa, and there was a proposal to have one in the West Ward as well at Mount Compass, and I didn't think that was necessary then. The only thing I can think of where it would be useful to have a meeting like this in say Strath or Compass or any of the other towns, if we had a workshop on a specific item that is relevant to that area, like a lot 10. It would probably be good to have a workshop here on lot 10, and the Middleton Skate Park might have a meeting in Middleton. It's specific to that because what we've tended to do is we've allowed members of the gallery to perhaps make a quick comment or maybe even ask a question relevant to that subject. To me, I'm trying to be kind, but to me it's sort of a bit of a circus. It's costing us $3,000 plus staff time. 2 of the elected members have to travel from the West Ward to get here, whereas they're very close to Goolwa. And I'm thinking that $3,000, we had a representation tonight about one of the halls. You know, $1,000 would buy them a whole set of chairs or could buy some other things that they want or need. So I cannot see why we would want to have meetings in other towns unless there's a specific reason for having a meeting there. The options residents have at the moment, they can do by telephone. You know, people ring up and when they have inquiries. The MySay internet site, the emails to Alex at Alex, I should mention also, we do consult. Once a year we have our budget and our annual budget meeting, and we go to 4 different locations and invite residents to submit comments, and invariably they'll raise comments on all sorts of things. It's a great opportunity for meeting with the community and for them to have something to say. Just having a meeting here, look, I'm not convinced that it's necessary. It's not cost effective, and I would prefer that we remain in Goolwa. I'm one of the members who have to travel to Goolwa, and the distance to Goolwa or Strath is probably about the same for me. So, you know, people on the Fleurieu are used to travelling. We're country people. Half an hour to any location is common. It's not a metropolitan council where everyone is in close proximity to the chambers. So, sorry, I cannot support this.
Any further discussion? Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I strongly support this, and I always have. I think it is so valuable that all decisions that are made in all levels of government are transparent, they're visible, and our community, no matter where they are, have the ability to easily access where those decisions are being made and where that conversation is happening. We know that in Goolwa, we have regular attendees at our council meetings, and it's really important. When I was driving here today, I thought, wow, this is a really long way that some of our elected members drive every week. I live in Goolwa. I drive 5 minutes to our council meeting. It's a long way to go, and I recognise that we do that, and that's what we sign up for. But to ask our community to do that every month is a lot, and I think that a $3,000 a year investment in taking local government to the people is absolutely worthwhile. I think it's more worthwhile than more chairs or furniture or other sort of minor things that we could spend that money on. I think it's fabulous, and I strongly support doing it again. We'll learn and grow each time. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Livingston? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. I don't take issue with the motion how it is. It's only for us to consider when preparing the annual community plan. I can see the intent behind it, but I also wonder whether if we held a information session or a workshop, whether that would be a better use of spending the funds to come to another town. And I would much prefer to have a workshop where the community are directly engaging with us, and we can make better use of that. So I do wonder, with the approval of the mover and seconder, whether we can add in a council meeting or workshop into that motion, and then I have no issues with it.
The mover happy with that variation to it?
Do I get to explain or comment?
You either accept the variation or you don't.
I'm prepared to accept the variation if that will get us to consider this again. But my preference is a council meeting, but yes, I'm happy to consider including the words information briefing. But I'd like to see where it is. Thank you.
Councillor Thornton, you happy with that? So leave the meeting, we're happy to consider that. All in favour of considering it? Well, let's look at the wording now. So the mover and seconder have agreed to the variations, and now we can go back to discussion. Councillor Gardner, yes.
I normally would, I believe that we should be holding our meetings in other places and always have supported it. Tonight, I will be voting against it because I haven't heard one person clearly tonight, which means that most of what has been spoken by council members and by people from the community, I did not hear a word you said. Not one word. I can't understand what Councillor Coomans is saying. I couldn't understand what Councillor Livingston was saying. I can't hear what you're saying, Councillor. The sound is, one, too loud, and two, it's so distorted. So, I mean, for me tonight in this room is a complete and utter waste of time because I cannot hear. Well, I can hear, but the sound is so distorted. So I will be voting against coming here until we've got some way of making this more tolerable. For me, tonight is totally impossible. I feel really, really upset because this is a beautiful building and it is lovely to see so many people here from Strath and Langhorne Creek and other places. But honestly, this is awful. Really, really awful. I will be voting against it.
So any further discussion? A question?
My question's in relation to the variation, as I said, workshop.
Through the Mayor, a council information session is the legal terminology for a workshop.
So any further discussion? Councillor Oliver?
I certainly appreciate all the notions and what we're trying to achieve, but I must reiterate that the cost of this is not necessary. It's more than the rates for one house for the whole year, so I'll be voting no. I think we need to be tight on every piece of discretionary expenditure and do the best for our ratepayers. We can function without having to go on a roadshow, and there are other things. We have a motion for live streaming up, so I'm going to save the money. Thank you.
Any further? Before you have your right to reply, I'll just say I agree entirely with Councillor Oliver. It's another expense. We're supposed to be not spending money, and it's an expense we don't need to have. We're spending some money at Goolwa to upgrade the IT and so forth. It's within the budget on the building to make speaking, the microphone system, the audio visual better. It's a purpose-built facility, and we are, at the request of members in the past and the community, heading towards live streaming, so it brings everybody in. It's just another spend, and it's not just $3,000. It's a considerable amount of a number of our staff's time, getting everything up that they bring up here, setting it all up, then packing it up and taking it back. So we've got a building which is a facility which is designed for council meetings. I don't see anything wrong with having information sessions or having sessions here which are specific to something specifically about Strathalbyn, for example, or Mount Compass. But you've got to be careful, because even though something specific that is happening in Mount Compass or Strathalbyn or wherever is being discussed in that town, it's being paid for by Alexandrina, every ratepayer. So they all need to know what's going on and so they're fully informed about it. So I'm not in favour of it. Sorry, I love Strathalbyn, but I'm not in favour of it.
I just have a procedural question before I close my debate, Your Worship. If we've got a council member who can't hear, where does that leave us for the rest of the meeting for the debate? And are we, where are we at if everybody can't hear? I can hear every other council member, and if they can hear me, we're the ones who make the decision. So I'm just interested in procedurally where we're at.
As you can see, we're looking at rectifying the situation to make it more acceptable. But that's got nothing to do with this debate. So if you wish to close the discussion.
Thank you, Worship. What I'm disappointed with the watering down of this, but all it's asking is that we consider. Now, it's not about council members travelling to Goolwa. That's never been a factor for me. When I nominated for council, I knew I would be travelling to Goolwa. What this is about is community access. It's about equity. One council meeting a year in Strathalbyn is not too much to ask. It's very well received. If you took out the acoustic issue that we're having here, which I can't believe wasn't tested before we went to this trouble and expense to come, but setting that aside, this is about equity and access. It is about this recognising and acknowledging the size of our district. Every decision we make, and Mayor Parks made a great point, is paid for by everyone. It impacts everyone. We do need to be transparent, visible. You know, people who live in Goolwa and Middleton, we do have regular attendees, and they are at a distinct advantage to everyone else to hear and participate in council meetings. This is about our community voice, helping people understand how councils make decisions and have the opportunity to participate. And I think that we owe it to our community to recognise the depth, the breadth of our council area, the demographics of our council area. A lot of older people won't travel at night. They want the opportunity to be involved and engaged, and I don't think it's too much to ask. And as for $3,000 being one person's rates, if you divide $3,000 by 21,000 ratepayers, I might have that number wrong, but my point is $3,000 divided by 21,000 people, it's immaterial. I don't think it's a justification. And so all I can do is ask for your support to consider this when we do the annual business plan and budget in early 2026. I'm not asking you to make a decision tonight, but I am asking you to consider this. Council information sessions are not decision making. Not everybody has to come. So, you know, if it'll get this across the line to have that in there, then that's why I supported the variation. But I really hope you show some recognition and acknowledgement of the just sheer size of our council area and what it takes to attend a council meeting. And it's about the community, it's not about us. And so that's all I've really got to say. Thank you.
Close the discussion, so I'll put the motion to you. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. (8.2) is a motion from Councillor Miller regarding code of practice, procedures at meetings and changes to opening of the meeting. It's moved by Councillor Miller. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, Your Worship. I only actually wish to move one. I'd like to delete point 2. I'm not going to move that at all, but I would like to move point 2. The only reason I put this on the agenda was because the code of practice doesn't require any consultation. I accept that. But there are discretionary elements as part of it, and again, they don't require consultation. However, we've had 2 workshops on this to date, and they've highlighted varying views on these elements of the opening of the meeting. We're not discussing it tonight, but I do think we should ask the community. That's all I'm asking.
So, do we have a seconder?
Sorry, Mayor Parks, could I just have clarification? What is actually being moved?
Part 1, which includes A, B, C and D of the motion. So part 2 has been removed. Part 2 has been removed, yeah. So do we have a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Nicholson. Do you wish to speak to it?
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually think this will be a really valuable community engagement. I think these, you know, we've had some really robust discussion in our information sessions, and I think before we make these decisions, it will be really valuable to hear what our community thinks. Thank you.
Councillor Coomans.
I'm not sure how to respond to this because I look at what's proposed and it seems to me what we're going to do is to ask the community, would you like council members to stand when the prayer and acknowledgement of country is spoken? Would you like the members to say a prayer before considering the business at hand? What words should be used when acknowledging our First Nations peoples? And I'm not opposed to actually asking our First Nations persons, and a telephone call could probably cover that. Should we also ask all of you for being part of this great district? Do we need to include that? I really can't see why we need to go for community consultation on these sorts of things when really, you know, we've got more important things to do. I mean, this is fairly simple stuff that we as a council representing our community can sort out without having to ask the community every damn thing. I'm lost for words, quite frankly. I think this is ridiculous.
Any further discussion? No? You wish to write a reply?
Thank you, Worship. I think Councillor Coomans is absolutely right. I agree with everything that he just said. What I don't feel comfortable doing is making a value judgment on these three elements of our council meeting procedures when I have never asked the community. In fact, I've never had the community raise any of these points with me. But I know that there is, from the discussions at the briefing sessions, which have been open to the public, that we are all on different pages when it comes to having a prayer, when it comes to the acknowledgement, and when it comes to standing. So I'm not prepared to make value judgments around our meeting procedures without testing it with the community. That's all this is asking. What do you think, community? Do you think we should have a prayer at the council meeting? That's all this is asking. And to my knowledge, in the history of this council, it's never been tested. So let's test it. Or, if we're not going to test it, we leave it as it is, in recognition and respect for the traditions of this council chamber and the reflecting on the seriousness of what we're doing. But if we're going to change it, I'm not comfortable changing it without testing and checking in with the community because I've never had this conversation with anyone. Thank you.
That closes the discussion, so I'll put the motion to you. All those in favour? Against? It's lost. .3 is a motion from Councillor Nicholson regarding public consultation, option citizen assemblies. It's moved by Councillor Nicholson. Do you wish to speak to it?
Thank you, Your Worship. When the state government soon endorses a local government community engagement charter, Council will need to review our current public consultation policy. At its heart, this motion is about strengthening the way we, as a council, engage with our community. We all know that traditional consultation methods like surveys, submissions, and open forums have their place, but sometimes they can only reach a narrow group of people, those who are already highly engaged, confident, or resourced to participate. A citizens' assembly is different. It is a process that brings together a representative cross-section of our community, a random sample, if you will. Participants are given the time, the information, and the support they need to deliberate carefully on complex issues and to provide recommendations that reflect the diversity of our whole community. Importantly, citizens' assemblies are not about replacing our role as elected members or replacing our current public consultation methods. The administration comments indicate this has been done, but it is not the intention of this motion by any means. By including the option of a citizens' assembly in our public consultation policy, we are not locking ourselves into costly or complicated processes every time. We would simply be giving ourselves another tool, one we can use when we choose to, if we're facing particularly complex, contentious, or long-term issues that deserve a more thorough approach. We will all be able to think back on public consultation results that we've received in this chamber that have had very strong input from one side or the other. but statistically we can't be confident that the results reflect the views of our whole community. When we make decisions that don't reflect the statistical outcomes of a public consultation, our community might ask why we spent the time and resources doing it in the first place. Colleagues, I believe as a council we should always be striving to lift the quality of our engagement. We should be looking for ways to bridge divides, to counter apathy, and to empower our residents to be part of shaping the future of our region. A citizens' assembly does exactly that. It brings people together. It fosters respectful dialogue and produces recommendations that are grounded in the lived experience of our community. I urge you to support this motion and for more information, and in doing so, send a clear message that we value participation, we value fairness, and that we are committed to making big decisions with our community, not just for them. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder for that? Seconder, Councillor Thornton, do you wish to speak to it? So is there any discussion? Councillor Coomans.
Thanks, Mayor Parks. Look, I don't have an issue with exploring this, but I'm sort of mindful that in the staff report it was mentioned that in Australia, voters elect representatives to make decisions. And really that's what we as a council should be doing. And if we get it wrong, the next election is an opportunity for change. Look, we do consult fairly widely on so many of our things that we do, and maybe a citizens' assembly is something worth exploring, so I'm happy to support it, but with a great amount of care.
Is there any further discussion? Councillor Miller.
I won't be supporting this, only because I'm just not sure this idea's time has come just yet. I'd prefer to reserve this decision to consider it until we've seen the Minister's Local Government Community Engagement Charter. This is a very big step away from legislation that guides how local government operates. I think it's the responsibility of state government, perhaps, to explore this and test it. The Local Government Community Engagement Charter will be a decision of the Minister. I'd like to see that first because that hasn't yet been adopted. We provided some feedback back in June on the Charter. The Local Government Association, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't explored citizen assemblies. My limited knowledge of this is that they are expensive to administer, and I really don't, to be honest, understand about citizen assemblies. I think it's a state government issue, and for now I can't support it presently, which is not to say I won't after we've seen what the Community Engagement Charter looks like, that the Minister will tell us as a minimum we have to follow. So for now it's a no, but that's just for now. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Maidment.
Yes, I'm a no on this as well. This is another layer of community engagement over and above the layers we already have currently within our council area, such as all the various committees like ASART, SEEK, the Heritage Advisory Committee. These committees have representative of the whole community and have knowledge and expert knowledge around those particular issues. So to cut the expense, as has already been mentioned, it's costly, and we're putting the cart before the horse. Let's see what the community engagement policy looks like from the state, and then maybe revisit this at a later time.
Any further discussion? So you write a reply.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the comments made. So yes, the Community Engagement Charter will set out a minimum for local government consultation, but as we know, community engagement is more than a tick box exercise. I think we have an opportunity to do more than just the minimum, and I believe a citizens' assembly really gives us, as democratically elected representatives of our community, a deeper connection on some issues that require it with our community. We have had occasions where there is a very strong representation from our community on an issue where the gallery is packed with people who feel a certain way, and I think that we have to acknowledge that can impact decision making in this chamber. We are bound by, I suppose in a sense, an election cycle, and that certainly can impact decisions that are made at every level of government in every chamber. I believe a citizens' assembly really is a way to strengthen decision making on behalf of our community and give our community and those of us in the chamber real confidence that the decisions are being made in line with the values, the priorities and the views of our community. It's about deepening democracy, building trust and giving confidence that our whole community can influence the decisions that are made here, not just those who are highly engaged or resourced. The motion is simply seeking more information for us to consider after we have the Community Engagement Charter from state government and when we are looking at redoing our own public consultation policy. I hope that the information that our administration are able to give to us on citizens' assemblies at that time really give us the opportunity to have a robust discussion about how that could look for us. Could it be tailored for our region? And could it sit there in our public consultation policy as a tool at our disposal if and when we feel a particular issue could be referred to a citizens' assembly? Thank you.
That ends the discussion, so I'll put the motion to you. All those in favour? Against? It's lost. Item 9 is administration reports. 9.1 is the Strathalbyn Streetscape and Town Hall project completion. Alan, is there anything to add or change to that report? No. Nothing for clarification? Are there any questions for clarification? Understand it? No. So there's a recommendation there that we receive and note the contents of the report. Move, Councillor Maidment.
With a variation.
What is it?
I'd just like to drop the words completion from the recommendation and the text in the report.
That's all you want to do?
Yeah, well, can I speak to it now?
Yeah, if you're moving, of course you can.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's we've already heard tonight from the General Manager Infrastructure that this town hall is not completed. We also know that the long vehicle parking behind the railway station was consulted on back in 2014 as part of the Strathalbyn Town Plan, 2014-24. Now, the only reason that that wasn't completed is because we ran out of money, and therefore I don't see that what's been consulted on back then and agreed to by the community and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement, that needs to be closed out. And so this project hasn't been completed. And I think that if those two aspects, the acoustics in this hall and the long vehicle parking, which was identified as necessary for this community and was widely agreed to, once that's closed out, then I'd be quite happy. The other thing is we have a town plan in the process of being drafted, but that won't be delivered until December 2026, according to the long-term financial plan. So I think we should ask the community what they want to see happen with the extra money that they might be forced to pay for anything that would happen in the vicinity of the railway station and this hall.
So do we have a seconder on this? Councillor Oliver? Speaking to it? Is there any discussion? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Worship. I'm really pleased that Councillor Maidment has made these observations. In particular, I just wanted to focus on the RV parking and the relationship to the two agenda items that came in August 2024 and again in May 2025. The site at Parker Avenue was about long vehicle parking. Then it became about an RV park. We never tested with our community that option because we lost a motion, we lost a decision, which was basically we didn't make a decision. So I agree that the Strathalbyn Streetscape and Town Hall project is not complete. I think this report serves as an update. The town plan's 18 months away. We have an opportunity to look at the driving economic activity in our town centre around parking and the highest and best use of the land, and that is the subject in this agenda item of RV parking. So I just think there's still a little bit of work to be done, and I really appreciate the content of this report and the update about it and the reminder, because a lot of this decision's been going on, this project's been going for a long time, certainly prior to my time on council, and I think it started way before even the previous term of council. So I think it highlights the complexity of what faces a growing township, and so I agree with just noting and this update, but it's certainly, there are two big elements that are so important to this community that are still yet to come to fruition. So thank you, Councillor Maidment. I agree with the change that you've made.
Is there any further discussion? Do you wish to have your right of reply, Councillor Maidment?
No, only that I raise this because in my opinion and the opinion of others, there is still opportunity for this streetscape to be completed at a later time, and that's what we consulted on with our community. They agreed with it, and I'd like to see the outcome of the 2026 to 36 Strathalbyn Town Plan and give our community the opportunity to either close that out or come up with some alternatives. I mean, I have my own opinions on what there are other possibilities, and I'd save that for the time for discussion with the community.
That ends the discussion. We'll put a recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? Against? It is carried. (9.2) is the Mount Compass RV Park expression of interest results, and the recommendation there with 3 dot points. Do you wish to move it, Councillor Coomans, and speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Parks. Sadly, I'm prepared to move this motion. I did expect experts in the field of RV parks to jump on board and with this opportunity, but it seems there isn't a great commercial gain in it, although all of the local shopkeepers in the precinct could see benefits to them if it were to go ahead. The effects on the general Compass community is almost zero because there are no residential housing nearby, and that's probably why no written input was received, although I've raised it a number of times at community meetings, and there was full support for a facility like that. Comments I would make on the design, though, is that the RV park certainly does not need the amount of space that's proposed. When I discussed the matter on site with the local caravan park owner, we thought a small section of land immediately behind the current public toilets would suffice, providing about 10 self-contained motorhome spaces and taking up about 1/3 of the proposed land. To me then, this means that 2/3 of the land could be sold and the resulting funds used to extend Sam Court south and possibly reconnect with the Victor Harbour Road. If this were Council's intentions, then this would make the vacant land much more valuable if it were to be sold. let's have another look at what we can be achieved, because the current car park is well used by the RV set and those with cars and caravan sets because of the opportunity to shop at a supermarket, the butchers, the pharmacy, and of course the coffee shops and the eateries. So I'm prepared to move this as it is. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder for this one? Councillor Scott. Is there any discussion? No. The only thing I was going, before you, Councillor Cummins, is part of that land we used to use, we sort of had a mind to use it for the markets for a while there. We were using where the car park is now, but then the other bit of land, our gardeners team, we're mowing it and looking after it, keeping it tidy, so that if we wanted to, we could have the markets. I know it's been a struggle to get them, but I agree with you, it's certainly far too big a piece of land to just to have for an RV park, but yep, it's be good to have something in town. But you got your right of reply, yeah?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Parks. I totally agree. The advantage of using that bit of land behind the toilets, it is grassed, is that if we need a dump point, those toilets are serviced with sewerage, and it would be a fairly economical situation to provide one there. That's why that land close to the current car park behind Drake's supermarket and the like would be an ideal location.
That ends the discussion, so I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.3 is the Middleton Skate Park alternative location. There is a recommendation A and B. We'll do recommendation A first, that we receive and note the contents of the report. Move Councillor Livingston. You wish to speak to it? Seconded Councillor Nicholson. So is there any discussion? If not, I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. And we move to the next recommendation, Group B, which has got the 3 components. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Nicholson. And you wish to speak to it?
Thank you, Worship. I wish to move some slightly different words that were emailed through earlier today, but I can read them out. So one, that Council note the current half-pipe location at the southern end of Abbott's Reserve has been recommended as the most suitable site for development of a skate park in Middleton through independent assessment by DG planners, sport, recreation and open space consultants. 2, that we approve further investigations at the current half-pipe skating facility at the southern end of Abbott's Reserve to help determine suitability of the site prior to community engagement. And 3, that we note that a report containing the outcomes of further investigations will be presented to a future meeting of Council, along with, if recommended to proceed, a community engagement plan for consultation with the community. As we know, the community are highly invested in this project, and especially where a skate park would fit within the Middleton community. I think this wording is more clear in showing the community that the recommendation has been made independently, and we are simply seeking more information as to whether it is a suitable location before we then go back to the community, because consultation on the location of a skate park is really important for Middleton. So I seek your support for this. Thank you.
So we have a second, second to Councillor Livingston. Any discussion? Councillor Cummins?
We've got some issues with this, because one of the things that the community is saying, and I've had discussions with many members of the community about this, the Abbott's Reserve or Mill Terrace is certainly not a preferred location of any kind by the community. If it was a very moderate change to the Abbott's Reserve, it might be supported. But I've raised before that, and I should say that the consultant totally dismissed the other proposed site at Mindacowie Terrace Corner. I am just amazed that the only reason they used was we don't own it, and there's something about facilities. I cannot understand that, because for me, the land is about to become under council control, I understand it. There's a planning approval in the process at the moment. Substantial amount of that land on the corner of Mindacowie and the main road between Middleton and Port Elliot and so forth. It will become available, a significant amount of it. It will allow for parking and for skating. There's transport. There's a bus between Victor and Goolwa that runs right alongside of it. There's a train station run by Steam Ranger. It's within 100 metres of that location. And at the moment, the Steam Ranger are discussing with the Oscar W about doing some mutual things together. And I see this sort of extending into a train station at Middleton where, conveniently within the Mindacowie area, the main street amenities via a concrete footpath right along the front of all the shops, public toilets within 100 or so metres at the arts and crafts shop. Council have got $500,000 on the current budget to fix those toilets. The restaurant across the road, well, some would call it a hotel, but it's a bloody big restaurant. Pippa's Eatery, the IGA, the pharmacy, caravan park with cabins. It's away from general housing. The local traffic on Mindacowie is very, very slow because of the stop sign at the railway station. It's got magnificent views. It's got good exposure to passing traffic on the Goolwa Road. It's got a high potential for state and federal grant funding, and we've got an election coming up early next year for the state. I see this facility on Mindacowie, the potential to be where we should be going with this, not wasting money on any other site where the community are not at all in favour of it, but to sort of throw a hat in the ring for doing something positive, and it could be a regional, it could be a state, it could be whatever, but it's not going to affect people, but it's going to be a magnificent facility in Middleton. Some have said, well, why don't you put it down to Port Elliot? That's also an opportunity to put it down there. But I'm not at all in favour of spending money on the current facility. And look, I'm mindful that we had a presentation from the skating fraternity. They were very keen on having something better than what they've got, and I fully support that. But let's do it properly. And that location, to me, is the one that we should be considering. And if we were to add that as part of as a variance, that we will look at a closer look at the Mindacowie site as part of the investigation, I would like to sort of see that rather than proceed with the half-pipe skating facility on the Abbott's Reserve. So it probably needs to be this lost, and then the other one should go ahead on its own. So I'm opposed to this.
Any further discussion, Councillor Oliver?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Coomans. I have to agree totally with your comments, and I think that's the logical, appropriate and sensible place, and it's also going to be subject to future growth. So there's going to be a lot of investment going around there. There's going to be a lot of young families, kids, and just great to the other stuff. And I'd also like to reiterate the previous view I made that we should be aiming to build a world-class venue. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Councillor Scott.
Chairman, I believe, excuse me, that the site that has been suggested is a good site for it. I'm afraid I disagree with Councillor Coomans. In fact, I'm quite surprised at some of his comments, because my understanding is that the number of people that I've talked to are keen on it to be down there in the bottom end of Abbott's Reserve. And the real plus that I think is that it'll, if it's done properly, it'll completely sort of close off that end of what was a creek. When I was a child, the creek ran right up into Abbott's Reserve. In fact, Abbott's Reserve has been filled from virtually the street behind it right down, and never finished properly. And I think this has got the potential to finish that off and properly cap the end of the creek and let it, and then move into the natural part of it. I'm concerned about the park, the skate park being up where it was suggested. It's got a busy main road running on the northwest of it. It has quite a busy road running down, particularly at holiday times, running down to the beach. It has a railway line going past, and every child is going to have to cross either a road or a railway line to get to it. And where we're suggesting it, down at Abbott's Reserve, it is, if you look at the Greater Middleton, it is actually in the middle of the Greater Middleton, because Middleton extends right across towards Surfers and also is extending round, obviously, towards Port Elliot. So where it is suggested to be, it is actually, I think, nearer the middle of the general residential area, and people can walk from the Middleton store. They can walk from the top side of the main road across a crossing and go under the railway line through Abbott's Reserve, and they can come to it, arrive it from there. If they're coming from the east, they come across the footbridge, walk down the bit of Mill Terrace, and there it is on the right. And I'm fairly comfortable with it being there. I was unaware that there was potentially any greater suggestion or any greater support for it being up on Mindacowie Terrace. I know some people have suggested it at times, but I think when we clarified where it could go next to the current one, that generally there was acceptance of that. So I'm very comfortable with it being there.
Councillor Maidman.
Yeah, at Abbott's Reserve you won't get a regional venue or a skate park of international standard. You will at Mindacowie. It makes a lot of sense for all the reasons that have been stated before. I think we need to look back at the presentations we've had from the skating fraternity in Middleton. They initially were looking for a really good out-of-the-box skating facility. All the other ones in Alexandrina are just basically small, they're not regional facilities. They don't lend themselves to competitions as such, although there have been minor competitions on some areas. So you want something that's, and skating is up and coming. It's going to be a Olympic sport before much longer, and I think we need to have something that's really worthwhile down in that area, with the growth that's going to occur in Goolwa North, Middleton and the South Coast. It would be a great tourist attraction as well. So Abbott's Reserve won't give you that, Mindacowie will. So I think we should explore it. And yes, the consultants shied away from negotiating that particular spot because of the fact that it was privately owned, but as it's been stated, we're going to get a parcel of land from the developer in time.
Any further discussion? Councillor Miller.
I just have a question, Your Worship. So we didn't do Part A, did we, to receive and note the contents of the report? We did? We did. Okay, sorry, I missed that. I'm torn with this one because I too think a skate park after what happened at the Olympics, and I'm hooked on it. It's so far from my area of expertise and knowledge, but then when I watched that at the Olympics, I thought this is what young people are interested in, and this is really important, and this could be a really fabulous recreational pursuit for our young people. And the interest and the packed gallery that we had when this first came What I'm not still convinced on is the location, and I don't want to commit funds to exploring something before going to the community. I'd like to hear what the community thinks about this report, and last time I got contacted by lots of people. This time I haven't had anything from anyone, and I'm thinking perhaps we wait and see where this other site that's being spoken about, because we don't own that site yet, and until we do, I don't know if we can factor that in. So I really am in two minds about this. I wasn't comfortable with the previous wording, and I'm probably still not as comfortable with this. And the only thing that would get this across the line for me is that it's where the current one is. So the community is used to it. But I know that there was some opposition around the site. So I think for that reason, because of my uncertainty, I won't be supporting this. But I certainly appreciated all the information that was in the report, and I recognise that there is a very strong desire for this sort of recreation for our young people and visitors to our region as well. But I do think we need to take into consideration the feedback that we received before. So thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Any further discussion? Nicholson, you're trying to reply.
Thank you, Worship. So I believe this location is central for all residents of Middleton. It also will be really complementary to the annual Surf Festival in Middleton. But I'm also not opposed to the Mindacowie location, and I think it is really important that we take very helpful information to the community next time we consult. It's important to remember that we are consulting on this again, and the process that we've been through is to go back to as a chamber, is to go back to the Middleton community and broader Alexandrina community with better information to give the community a better opportunity to give us feedback on where that location should be. I think that in order to do that, we actually need to know whether this is a suitable location. So this work needs to be done anyway. And we will receive a report with the outcomes of this investigation to then go to the community. And I'm certainly not opposed to including multiple options when we go to the community. And that's what the community actually asked us for last time. It could be by the time we get these investigations back that we've got more information about the Mindacowie location, or perhaps we can do a bit of work in seeking that information and not ruling it out simply because it hasn't come to council yet. We know, and the community know, that there is a development underway, will be a development underway very soon, and that, you know, it is potentially a piece of land that will be community land and will come to us. So I do ask for your support. We need this information to actually have a robust discussion with our community, to know whether this is a site that can even be considered, and that when this information comes back to us, we can have another discussion as a chamber about what we actually go out to our community and ask them to feedback on which locations. Will we go with one? Will we go with multiple locations? I'm certainly not opposed to that. I believe this really has to be community driven, and we need information to do that. Thank you.
Close the discussion, so I'll put it to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. .4 is the community engagement report regarding the Goolwa Code Amendment. Matt, is there anything to add to this report? Any questions for clarity? For clarity, not debate. But if you don't understand the report, that means no. So you've got two recommendations, A and B. So we'll do A first. Is there a mover for A? Councillor Maidment. Second to Councillor Livingston. Any discussion regarding recommend Group A? Councillor Miller.
I just had a question for clarity. So Is the only change to the subzone code amendment the inclusion of the word art? Is that how I read this? And then I have another question.
Through the Mayor, yes, that's the only change that's proposed following the consultation.
And my other question is this cementing the future of the galleries and mean that there'll be no further analysis of their locations and combining them? I want to understand the significance or not of including the word art.
Sorry, tripping over my bags. Through the Chair, no, it doesn't cement any particular use. It just provides a framework for what uses might be able to be used. So it's not a decision as to what will actually be there. It's just a framework for which uses can be accommodated. Yeah.
Any further discussion? No, I'll put the recommendation A to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Then we move to B.
Excuse me, Your Worship, I voted against it.
Sorry? I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening.
You asked for against and I had my hand up.
Well, I didn't see it, I'm sorry. So it's carried. So we move to Group B. Is there a mover for Group B? Move, Councillor Livingston.
Thank you, Mayor Parkes. I'll be moving an alternative to that recommendation. And apologies for not sending this ahead of time. My motion that I want to move is that Council consider the proposed amendments to the Goolwa Wharf subzone in parallel with its consideration of the service reviews relevant to the Goolwa Wharf precinct. And I'm happy to take advice on timing, but I understood that was to be no later than December this year.
Thanks. Through the Chair, perhaps just for a little bit of clarification on...
Yes, just sorry, Tanya doesn't have the motion yet. You just sweated it out, we can hardly hear it, and we've got nothing in writing to help her, so you need to
I'm happy to
explain
repeat
it just nice and slowly what the motion is.
To the Goolwa Wharf subzone in parallel with its consideration of the service reviews relevant to the Goolwa Wharf precinct. And then I had no later than, but the timing to be, I was seeking advice on the timing for the service reviews.
Through the Chair, perhaps just a comment on that. The service reviews are a very different process for a very different purpose than what the Goolwa Wharf Code Amendment is. The Code Amendment is the mechanism to change the planning and design code for what types of land uses may or may not be appropriate within that precinct, as opposed to a service review that may talk about operational type matters and which buildings are used for whichever purpose. So one is very much a town planning function. The other is more for council's consideration as a landowner and the leaseors, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that helps or hinders it. I mean, it could be done, but...
And I can appreciate where you're coming from in that regard. The reason why I say service reviews is because we have held off on our consideration of Customs House further until we complete what I understand to be a holistic review of what we are intending to do with the Goolwa Wharf precinct. I don't see that there's any risk in pushing back this recommendation or motion or consideration a further few months when it's been going on since 2022. there have been other matters that have come before us which have been delayed. I see no reason why this cannot as well. And I think that they are definitely linked. It does state in the report that it's not relevant. And I can completely appreciate Matt's comments in relation to the land use, but in terms of what we are considering and what we've considered in the past, I think it's completely relevant.
So that's the motion. Well, is there a seconder? Councillor Scott. And you're speaking to it? Oh, that's Councillor Gardner you wish to speak to.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, we need a finalised date.
I was seeking advice on that in terms of the service review date, which I understood to be December 25.
I'd have to sort of check that. I don't know unless Tash knows off the top of her head what that date is, but it's certainly this year. But I think if it's talking about in parallel with that process, then that would cover that off, I would expect.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. I haven't heard exactly all of what's happened regarding this matter, but I would like to say that I was part of the community engagement around this whole issue. And it's my understanding that the Goolwa Wharf Code Amendment is about changing it from a ferry and marina facility zone to a zone where, because we're not a facility, we're not a ferry and marine facility at all. That's about boats coming in, passengers getting on, going to goodness knows where on a regular basis. It's not a commercial zone at all. The Goolwa Wharf precinct now seeks to promote, or what we'd like to do is to foster tourism, cultural environment and recreation aspirations of the Goolwa Wharf precinct. And we can't do it if we're a ferry and marina facility. And so it's merely changing it from one kind of facility to another. And I think trying to join it up with a service review, which we're going to be doing, simply doesn't, they don't match. They're two totally different things. I don't think I'm explaining this very well. But really, all that's happening is we're changing it from one zone, one kind of zone to another. That's all we're doing in this, with this motion. The service review is going to actually take us and let us look at the different buildings that are at the wharf and work out what we'd like those buildings to do. And so I think we need to be very careful. I can't vote for this recommendation because I don't think we have a clear understanding of what this motion is meant to be.
Any further discussion? Councillor Miller.
I just have a question before I speak. So I'm understand if, and my questions were based on the previous recommendation. So I'm now confused about how to address my question. But my question was, the recommendation as printed had support the proposed amendments to the Goolwa Wharf subzone identified in attachment 3. So my question was around the word support. Does that mean we adopt the Goolwa Wharf subzone identified in attachment 3 with the addition of the word art? That's what I was trying to understand. So, and I did appreciate that they're separate processes, but I think there is a relationship, but I'm trying to understand. All my questions were based on not on this approach, so I'm kind of, I don't quite now know what I'm considering here. Was support meaning adopt, I guess is my question.
Through the chair, the decision maker is the Minister for Planning, but what we would be putting forward is the subzone as drafted, which, just to add further clarity, is reinstating the previous policy that was in the development plan, and the word arts will be added to what we had gone out to consultation with.
Just a further question then. So it had the word cultural, and that's not sufficient to pick up arts? I think we're starting to get very specific about elements of it, and I just want to understand the risk of not supporting it and also supporting it, what it meant, and I'm a little bit confused.
We could put it forward as it was drafted without the word arts, and it probably wouldn't undermine the ability for some of those types, like the galleries and things. They would still fit in cultural land uses.
Any further discussion? Councillor Nicholson.
Question, Your Worship. Question, Your Worship. Is there any implication that the Chamber should be aware of in regards to changing the time frame of this in delaying it until the service reviews come back to us?
Through the chair, no. It's just a matter of putting it up to the Minister for Planning for a decision.
Any further discussion? So before you have your right of reply, I'll just say I agree. Councillor Gardner has got it in one. She really does understand it. It's not a slipway. It's not a marina. It's a tourism precinct. So what we're trying to do is say it's a tourism precinct. It's not what it's down. We haven't got a ferry anymore. We haven't had a ferry for years, 20 years. The holistic review of the wharf precinct is totally different. A holistic review of the wharf precinct is looking at what are we going to do within this tourist facility that we've got sitting down that costs us $18 million. What are we going to do with the 7 or 8 buildings that are sitting, many of them empty? How are they going to contribute to the economic viability of that facility and bring people to it? That's the holistic review. This is, so you're going to do a holistic review of what you're going to do at a ferry terminal and a marina, instead of doing it at a tourism precinct. So it just, to me, I agree with the original recommendation, but not this one. But you have the right of reply.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. I don't disagree that we need to have a code amendment to change it from what it is currently zoned. This motion simply pushes it back a few months, which I see no harm in. We've had confirmation from administration that there is no harm in that. The code amendment changes the potential use of properties within that precinct, so I don't see why we wouldn't consider that. There's definitely a relationship. I'm not saying that they're completely linked, but I think we ought to give it sufficient consideration.
Ends the discussion, so I'll put the motion to you. This is the new motion. All those in favour? Against? That is lost. So we go back to the original recommendation. Is there a mover for the original recommendation? Moved Councillor Gardner. Seconded Councillor Oliver. Any discussion on the original one? Councillor Miller.
Just a question, just to clarify. So by saying that council support the proposed amendments to the Goolwa Wharf subzone, we're adopting those amendments. Is that correct, Your Worship?
We're supporting the proposed amendments. It's got to go to the minister to be approved. We're telling the minister, here's what we'd like to do, and we're in favour of it.
Just one more question then. So that means we are supporting the proposed amendments with the inclusion of the word art. I'm not arguing against art. I'm just wondering why it's necessary. It's very prescriptive.
Through the chair, the word art reflects some of the submissions that came in from the community. It's probably not entirely necessary, so the cultural word in the land uses will accommodate that. So what was put forward to the community didn't have the word arts in it, but some submissions from the community said that they would be more comfortable knowing that that particular land use, which is quite specific, would also be accommodated.
So any further discussion? No. So I'll put the motion to you. All those in favour? Against? Anybody against? It's carried. (9.5) is the Horseshoe Bay Wave Modelling Consultation. Matt, are there any further information to do or changes to this? No. Is there any questions for clarification of the report? If not, there's a recommendation. Have you got a question for clarification? There's a recommendation with 3 dot points. Is there a mover for that? Move, Councillor Miller.
I would just like to move as printed, but I would like to add the word at point 3, including with the addition of a pop-up at the Strathalbyn show. And the reason I'm asking for that is because the Strathalbyn show is only 4 days before the Port Elliot show. And everything in this report is relevant to the same reasons why we would include the Port Elliot show, are equally and possibly more important than the Port Elliot show, because this is an exercise about raising awareness of the 7 options. I think there were 7 on page 113. Sorry, that's where the pop-up was. So I just think we have this wonderful opportunity to consult at the Port Elliot show. I think that's brilliant. But I also think we have this amazing opportunity to do exactly the same thing at the Strathalbyn show, which is 4 days before. The whole community, whatever option goes with this, will be paying for it and needs to have an awareness of it. I would ideally like to say including an option of doing nothing. Not that I'm advocating for doing nothing as an option in these modelling, because I understand the presentation was excellent by the consultants that we had on the 25th of August. I thought it was very well presented. It was very clear what options are available and why they need to be considered. I thought the engagement consultant was excellent in what they said should happen. That briefing was about the modelling. That's what the consultant was engaged to do. I think this community element of it should also encompass, here's what the risks are, council, if you do nothing. So I think for an engagement exercise, I would love to see this also happen at the Strathalbyn show. There were 9,000 people at the Strathalbyn show last year. And for an awareness exercise, I don't think we can overlook it. So if it's at all possible to include the Strathalbyn show, I think the materials, it's only 4 days sooner. I'd love to see that considered. And I thought the report was excellent. Thank you.
So Andrew, there are cost implications. I'll hand to Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, just in terms of potential implications, one of the issues I will have is I think Monday is the public holiday, which is when the Strat show is. That is outside of staff ordinary hours, so I'd need to be seeking volunteers to actually man the pop-up on that particular day. And if I do gain volunteers, it's going to be double time and a half. If I have no volunteers, it'll be myself or my general managers at that pop-up. Plus, there's other consultations happening across the district as well.
So do we have a seconder for it? No, or you've spoken to it? A question, but we've not got a seconder. It's not going anywhere. We've got no seconders. So we don't waste some more time. Go ahead and ask the question.
Well, my question was, for staff to attend the Port Elliot show, do they get paid? Is that considered within working hours? And so then do they take time off in lieu, or do they get paid? And if they do, if they're there on the Sunday, do they get paid overtime? I get the public holiday issue, but I'm just trying to understand the significance, the material difference between them being at the Strath show or being at the Port Elliot show.
Through the Chair, the key issues are public holidays. All council facilities such as the libraries, etc. are not open on a public holiday. However, on weekends, some of those facilities are open, which sits within ordinary hours of staff.
So again, do you have a seconder for it? Yes. No, so this will lapse through onto the seconder. So we take that, so we go back to the original recommendation. Is there a mover for the original recommendation? Move, Councillor Oliver. You wish to speak to it?
Yes, please, Mayor. Just very briefly, this is such an important body of work, and it's the first of our coastal adaptation changes that we've got to deal with, and the faster we can get on with it, the better. And I think this is all pretty comprehensive, so a great report and great work. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder, Councillor Livingston? Any discussion? Councillor Nicholson.
Question, Your Worship. My apologies. I was under the impression that the option of managed relocation of assets would be included in the public consultation. Is that correct?
Through the Chair, yes, it is one of the options, managed retreat and managed relocation.
So do we have any further discussion? Questions? No. So put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? Anybody against? I'm in trouble with you. You keep together. It's carried unanimously. 9.6 is new lease proposals for the Clayton Bay CFS station and the Malang CFS station. Tash, is there anything to add to this? Any questions for clarification? If not, there's a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Is there a mover for that? Move, Councillor Oliver. The seconder, Councillor Maidment. Any discussion? Councillor Scott, you want to change the rent?
I just find it intriguing. We've been through this ever since I've been involved in council. How we're renewing leases for an essential service building. I mean, surely if you're going to build a building for an essential service, you lock it in without us having to revisit it every few years to extend the lease. It seems just extraordinary. But why do we have to do that?
Do you want to explain this?
Yeah, through the Mayor, as part of Council's lease and licence policy for issuing new leases need to come to Council for a decision. So that's what this report's doing.
Is there any further discussion? Can't be more straightforward. I'll put it to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 9.7 is the short-term dry area application, Schoolies Festival 2025 and New Year's Eve. Tash, anything to add to this? Are there any questions for clarity? Do this every year. Councillor Scott, what aren't you clear about? It's in the report, not debate. Question for clarity, understanding the report.
I fully understand the intent of what you're saying, and my question is it the same as we've had in previous years, or has it been altered in any way and any other areas included in prohibition area?
Through the Mayor, it is exactly the same as other years.
So you're happy to move it?
Yeah, I'm happy to move, thank you.
Are you speaking to it?
Ibn?
Is there a seconder? Councillor Livingston? Is there any discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Uh, 9.8 is the Community Wellbeing Grant Assessment Panel appointment. So first, Stacey is unfortunately not well. She's not here. Is there anything we need for clarification on that? Not that we're aware of. And so we need to, before we do it, we need to appoint somebody. We need to find somebody who would like, a councillor, who would like to be a member of that panel. Councillor Oliver.
I'd volunteer, Mayor. I'm the councillor on the other committee, and I did this for Councillor Gardner last year when she wasn't able to do it. It was a lot of work, but I could see a lot of value in it, and so it'd be my pleasure to do it again.
So is there anybody else who would like to do it? Councillor Maidment, you want to do it?
No, if Councillor Miller would like to do it, I think we need to test the water here. I'm sure she'd be well versed in community wellbeing grant assessments with her employment that she's currently got. You never heard anything? All right. Is that better? I don't know why, but not clear? I'm nominating Councillor Miller, yeah.
Councillor Miller, did you wish to do it? So we have two offers. Is there anybody else? No, so we've got two. You're both keen. We can do it.
I'd be happy to let Councillor Miller do it, to have another councillor involved in the overall grants process. Thanks for your nomination.
So Councillor Oliver's happy to sort of pull out of that, so it would be Councillor Miller. There's nobody else. We'll put that in there. You're happy to do it? All right. So we have the recommendation with the 2 dot points before you. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Livingston? Seconder, Councillor Maidment. Any discussion? Councillor Nicholson.
Very briefly to thank both elected members who have put their hand up for this, and I think we will be in great hands. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Coomans.
I think there was a thanks there, but we didn't say that that we should acknowledge and thank Councillor Gardner for her valuable contributions as a member of that panel over many years.
Someone could suggest a variation if you wish to suggest that we add that to it, because it's been moved and seconded.
Could I suggest that, a variation, that we add that to the motion?
Yeah, move and seconder, happy to do that. Yep, that's fine. So I'll leave the meeting to vary it. All in favour? If you don't stick your hand up, I'll never know. Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Is there anybody against? Because you certainly weren't all in favour, I can tell you. So we'll carry unanimously. (9.9) is the appointment of a delegate to the Local Government Association of South Australia, LGA, and the Local Government Finance Authority of SA, LGFA. Andrew, is there anything to add to that?
Nothing further.
Are there any questions of clarity on that report? If not, there's a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Move, councillor Cummins.
Yeah, happy to move that, Mayor Parks.
Seconder, councillor Nicholson. Any discussion? If not, put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. (9.10) is the 2023-2028 Community Land Management Plan 6-monthly report. It's the March 2025 to August 2025 report. Tash, is there anything with that report? Are there any questions for clarity of the report? If not, there's a recommendation there with 2 dot points. Is there a move? Move, councillor Nicholson. Seconder, councillor Miller. Any discussion? Not of councillor Maidment.
Just a question of the Manager for Strategic Development. I've been asked by residents of North Parade about this undeveloped reserve at Lot 13. Is this just a small block, small parcel? And with that in mind, what could we use it for?
Thanks. Through the chair, we were just having a look. We would need to take that on notice.
Right. So is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 9.11 is the Fleurieu Aquatic Centre Joint Venture Quarterly Report. Stacey's not here. Nothing in that. Any questions for clarity about that? Just the quarterly report. There's a recommendation that we receive and note the contents. Move, councillor Nicholson. Second to councillor Livingston. Any discussion or questions? If not, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.12 is the Quarter 4 Performance Report. Andrew, is there anything to clarify on that? Andrew Alderson, anything on that? No. Any questions for clarity? If not, there's a report there, recommendation there with 3 dot points. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Miller.
I'll just speak very briefly. I just want to say thank you for the new format, the commentary and the information. It reflects our draft end of year results and a fairly good indication of how we've ended up, or will end up. An operating deficit of just over $1 million when we adopted $4 million and revised that down to $3 million. The how is articulated on page 198, and I do think we need to revisit how we treat fags, as it can cause some confusion. And I think this report demonstrates all the complexities that councils face in managing their capital works programs. They can't be underestimated, and I want to acknowledge all the moving parts to infrastructure and asset management in this report, and thank you for the increasing quality of reporting of information that's being made available to us. I love the graphs and the lines that help us read this information, and I just want to say thank you very much for this report. Thank you.
So do we have a second, Councillor Livingston? Any discussion? So I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. (9.13) is the Chief Executive Officer's leave request. Anything to change on that, Andrew? No. There's a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Move, Councillor Livingston. Second, Councillor Scott. Any discussion? No, Andrew won't tell you where it's going. It's private. Councillor Miller. There's no further discussion. I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. (9.14) is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Andrew, is there anything for clarification on your report?
Nothing further.
No. Any questions for clarity? Councillor Livingston, for clarity?
Yeah, yes, a bit cheeky though. Your first date on there says Councillor Lou Livingston. We are two people. So I'm happy to move it with that amendment.
So do we have a seconder for Andrew's report? Councillor Nicholson. Are there any questions or comments regarding Andrew's report? If not...
Just briefly, Your Worship. I did have a giggle at that as well, and I note I'm very flattered to have some similarities with Councillor Livingston. But to officially merge in a council report, I'm sure will be corrected in the minutes. Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Councillor Maidment.
Yes, the Strathalbyn developer, are we allowed to know who that is? It's not secret, is it?
Through the chair, basically exploring options around the Strathalbyn recreational precinct, just to see what we can uncover perhaps, but we're hoping a report may come back to council in the coming meeting or two in regards to that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Questions? I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.15 is the council resolution register. Andrew, anything on there to add? No. Any questions for clarity? There's a recommendation there that we receive a note that. Move Councillor Maidment. Seconder, Councillor Livingston. Any discussion? Councillor Maidment.
Just that it's very refreshing to see that most of these resolutions are coming to fruition, with most of the actions date are around September of this year, and quite a few of them have been finalised, so it won't be such a task to scroll through all this stuff at future council meetings, so well done.
So put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Item 10 is committee reports. 10.1 is the Climate Emergency and Environment Committee A2040 recommendation. Matt, is there anything for clarity on that or to add to it? No. So there's a recommendation there with 2 dot points. Is there a moving that? Speaking, you have to tell me, when you're moving it. Yeah.
Thank you. I just said I'm pleased to move this recommendation, and I just wanted to specifically say that from my perspective, I wanted to thank the committee members and administration, but in particular wanted to highlight Andrew and Trish's work that they did with the members. It was great discussion. I think we've come up with a really good set of priorities.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Nicholson. Any discussion or questions? Councillor Miller.
I just wanted to note that we've never had a chance as a chamber to formally adopt these recommendations from this committee. I do appreciate that we've had the information briefing sessions, and I'm quite comfortable with them. But from my perspective, I would have liked to have had the opportunity just to talk through some of them. We don't have the benefit of the discussion that occurred at the committee meeting, but I'm just making an observation. I'm very comfortable with where we've landed with this. It's just kind of, I would have liked to have had the opportunity to deal with it a little bit earlier than this. It's already gone to the Audit Risk Committee. I understand we'll have a proper opportunity to debate the strategic plan on the 22nd of September, but I do also recognise the input that the SEEK has had in this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 11 is council member reports. 11.1 is the presiding member's report. It's my report for August. Andrew, anything to add or change to that? Nothing. No, all right. So there's a report there. There's a recommendation that we received. Is there a mover for that? Move Councillor Maidment. Second to Councillor Oliver. Any questions or discussion? Councillor Livingston.
Yes, my question relates to your meeting on the 20th of August in relation to the algal bloom. I'm just wondering if there's anything over and beyond what we've been communicated in relation to that.
So what I picked up there was about the one about the algal bloom crisis by Heather Holmes-Ross. So that was a meeting with the group that went to Canberra to discuss going to Canberra and what their objectives were, and yeah, that was it. I didn't go to Canberra. We did, but we did. Following that meeting, we did work with them and with the Adelaide Coastal Councils Network and South Australian Coastal Councils Alliance. Our two executives met with Heather Holmes-Ross from the LGA and prepared, mainly with Adam's input, the submission to the federal government, which was presented. And yeah, that was. Anything else? No. So I put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 11.2 is council members' activity report. Anything to add to that, Andrew? No more have come in. There's a council received a note. The members of Councillor Gardner's report for August. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Miller. Is there a seconder? Councillor Nicholson. Any questions of Councillor Gardner regarding her report? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 11.3 is council member activity report, verbal updates. These are things which you've done in your role as an elected member. Is there anybody who would like to add anything? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to say how delighted I was to attend the Mayor's Short Story Challenge at the library. It was a really lovely experience. I thought it was run really well. The work that the library staff do from the three councils to and the people who assess those stories. I think it's a really lovely collaboration between councils, and it reflects the value of reading and creative writing, and I love it that we support it. I also just wanted to acknowledge the successful exhibitors at the Adelaide show that came from across our district, but down at Langon Creek, and all the schools that competed. I just would like to acknowledge their success as well. Thank you.
Any further? Councillor Livingston.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Parks. Just very briefly, I attended last week the Wharf Precinct usual regular meeting where the Minister for Tourism also attended, and I just wanted to note how pleased I was to see how well all of the operators on the wharf collaborate with each other and try and drive more business for each other. It was great to see.
Are there any further? Councillor Scott.
Yes, I'm apologise in advance. At this meeting, I normally give a reasonably comprehensive report on how our schools went at the Royal Show, and I'm afraid I've had a fairly difficult week this week, and I've overlooked doing the research into all the placings. But I just want to add to what Councillor Miller said. The schools in our council area, in a nutshell, punch way above their weight in all areas of schools' participation at the Royal Show. For those that are unaware, it stretches from dairy heifers, lead steers, young paraders, eggs, chooks, goats, mohair, wool, and I spent quite a lot of time going around meeting with them and trying to encourage them, obviously, and celebrating their successes. And there were various successes in various areas, Eastern Fleurieu, Mount Compass Area School, and I now include Wollonga High School because people up at the top end of my ward go to Wollonga High School, and they are involved. So I do call in and see how they're going as well. But I'll probably report next time of the full result. But we had a Mount Compass Area School student parade the best presented steer in the steer competition, and I don't know how many schools. The pavilion is full of these exhibits. And Bodie McKenzie from Tuparang paraded the best presented steer, and Mount Compass also won the champion steer on the hoof. Wollonga School did extremely well with their eggs, and Eastern Fleurieu had some successes, but I'm struggling to remember all, and I'll certainly bring them to the next time. But these young people, they work like mad to their teachers. Those ag teachers do an incredible job, and what they're doing is that they are underpinning the future of agriculture in our area. And I talked to a number of the students, and they were looking at random at going into various agricultural related pursuits after leaving school. They're year 11, 12, and a number of the year 12s that I spoke to, agronomy or managing beef cattle or whatever. There was a variety of things, and I think they deserve our congratulations and our encouragement, but I'll give a more accurate report when at the next meeting, and I apologise for not doing it this time. Thank you.
Are there any others? Councillor Coomans.
Look, with your indulgence, Mayor Parks, and noting that there's probably 5 or so community members in the gallery, most of those attend all of our meetings anyway. The Strath branch of Meals on Wheels is celebrating 50 years of service to the Strath community. I'm a life member and stepped down as President Chair of the Board in 2023. This organisation has served its community well since the early 50s, and indeed a former State Premier, the late Don Dunstan, was the inaugural President. Some 7,000 volunteers serve the 80-odd branches in the state, delivering over 1 million nourishing meals per year to those who have difficulty shopping or cooking for themselves. I'd like to congratulate Chair Marcia Evans and her team of volunteers in the Strath branch for their dedicated community service.
Are there any others? Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had the pleasure of attending a Sala exhibition at Encounter Lutheran College, which was a collective of art from across Alexandrina and City of Victor Harbour, as well as Yankalilla Council, Goolwa Primary School, Goolwa Secondary College, Port Elliot Primary School, I believe Mount Compass as well, were all represented there, and it was a wonderful event showcasing art from students in our community. I also want to acknowledge it's been finals fever for many sporting clubs, including football and netball. We've had amazing presentations and clubs coming together. It's just great to see young people effort, their participation, determination, and that community spirit. It's so important for belonging, health and wellbeing in our communities, and all volunteer run. It's just been really amazing. And finally, I attended the rose pruning opportunity in Goolwa, and it was really wonderful. It was great to work with some of the staff from Alexandrina Council, a beautiful day in the sun, and to see how some of the maintenance of our gardens happens. It's not by magic, it's not magical fairies, it's people going out there and keeping our region beautiful. It was a great opportunity. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, the recommendation that we note those reports. The mover for that, Councillor Livingston. Second, Councillor Cummins. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. We now come to 12, which is confidential items.
South Coast Television, your community, your voice.